Most people live their entire lives chasing happiness like it's a hidden treasure buried somewhere far ahead. They imagine it's a place they will reach if they just keep moving. If they just work harder, climb higher, and push further. This vision is intoxicating. It promises that one day life will feel complete, that the restless ache inside will finally quiet down. But here's the truth most never want to face: that place doesn't exist. The world has sold you a dream that keeps you running but never arriving. It's an endless loop disguised as progress. You climb one mountain thinking the view will change everything, only to discover another peak in the distance. And every time you get there, that next keeps moving, slipping further away. Think about how many times have you said, once I get this, I'll be happy. Maybe it was the job you thought would define you. Maybe it was the relationship you were certain would complete you. Maybe it was the house, the car, the money, the recognition. And for a fleeting moment, yes, it felt good. But that feeling didn't last. It never does. The excitement fades. The novelty wears off, and you're left with the same emptiness. Only now you've convinced yourself you just need more. This is the trap. You've built your happiness on shifting sand, on conditions, on outcomes, on things you cannot fully control. You've been taught that happiness lives outside of you, in the future, in the hands of someone or something else. And as long as that's your belief, you will always be chasing, always running, always hoping, and always falling short. You see, there's a dangerous pattern hidden here. When you believe happiness is something you find, you'll spend your life searching for it instead of living it. You'll attach your joy to achievements, milestones, and possessions as if they were the gatekeepers to your soul. But here's the painful irony: those things can be taken away in an instant. Jobs end, relationships change, money disappears, health falters. And when they do, your happiness collapses with them, leaving you shattered because your foundation was never really yours to begin with. The world will keep dangling that carrot in front of you, telling you that the next version of yourself, the next big win, the next validation will finally be. It's a lie dressed up as motivation. And it works. It works because it keeps you buying, striving, comparing, and consuming. It works because you're scared to stop and ask the real question: what if nothing hold there can give me what I'm looking for? That question is terrifying because it forces you to confront a possibility most people never dare to face, that you've been running toward a mirage. And if you accept that, you also have to accept that everything you've been taught about happiness might be wrong. But there's freedom hidden inside that realization. Because once you see the illusion for what it is, you can stop being a prisoner to it. You can stop chasing and start creating. You can start asking different questions. Not what do I need to get to be happy, but how can I be happy without needing to get anything? Here's the real reason most people never feel truly happy. They've confused the feeling of achievement with the state of fulfillment. Achievement is temporary. It's a rush, a high, a spark. Fulfillment is deeper. It's steady, unshakable, and it exists regardless of the scoreboard. But you can't find fulfillment by constantly reaching for the next shiny thing. You find it when you stop looking outside and start cultivating it inside. And that shift, that decision to stop searching for happiness as if it's a rare prize and instead nurture like a daily practice, that's what breaks the cycle. But until you make that shift, you will remain caught in the loop, climbing the ladder, only to realize it's leaning against the wrong wall. Ask yourself this: if everything you were chasing disappeared tomorrow, would you still know how to feel joy? Could you still look at your life and say, I am enough even without all of it? If the answer is no, you are not truly happy. You are simply distracted, and distraction is not the same as peace. This is why you can see people with massive wealth, influence, and success who are still miserable, and why others with far less seem genuinely at peace. It's not about what they have. It's about where their happiness lies. For some, it's locked away in the vault of someday. For others, it's here in this moment, in who they are rather than what they own. The hard truth is that most people will never break free from this illusion. They will spend decades trading their time and energy for things that can never truly satisfy them. They will reach the end of their lives wondering why they never felt whole, even though they achieved so much. But you don't have to be one of them. You don't have to wait until it's too late to see the truth. Happiness is not a final destination at the end of a long, exhausting journey. It's the way you walk the path. And until you learn to walk with it now, you will keep chasing it later. So the question you have to answer before anything else is this: will you keep running toward a finish line that doesn't exist? Or will you stop, take a breath, and choose to own your happiness right where you stand? Because if you don't make that choice, no amount of running will ever take you there. From the moment you were old enough to understand rewards and consequences, the world started programming you with a dangerous bargain. You can have happiness, but only when you've earned it. And from then on, you've been making trades with your joy. You've been postponing it like a paycheck that never quite clears. You've said to yourself, I'll be happy when I make more money. I'll be happy when I'm in the right relationship. I'll be happy when my body looks a certain way. I'll be happy when I finally prove them wrong. But here's the problem. Every time you get one of those things, the target shifts. The promotion you thought would change everything, it just creates a bigger goal. The relationship you thought would heal you, it brings new challenges. The body you worked for, now you're worried about maintaining it. the recognition you craved, it fades faster than you expected. This is the endless loop of conditional happiness. Joy that comes with a set of requirements, like a contract you have to keep renewing. And no matter how many boxes you check, you never actually arrive because the conditions never stop multiplying. One is met, another takes its place. It's an emotional treadmill. You burn energy, but you never move forward. Worse still, when you tie your happiness to conditions, you give away the keys to your emotional state. You're no longer in control of your own peace. You've outsourced it to the world. And the world, let's be honest, isn't concerned with keeping you happy. Circumstances change. People change. Life happens. And when it does, your joy evaporates because it was never anchored in something unshakable. Think about what this really means. If your happiness depends on something outside of you, then it is always at risk. That's why you can't fully relax even when things are good. Because deep down, you know they can change in an instant. You've built your sense of worth on a foundation that could crumble without warning. And this is exactly why most people spend their lives restless, unsettled, and unsatisfied. They might get glimpses of happiness, but they never feel safe in it. It's like holding water in your hands. You can't stop it from slipping through your fingers. The real tragedy is that this way of thinking is so normal, most people never question it. We treat conditional happiness like common sense. We tell ourselves, of course I'll feel better when I have more money. Or, of course I'll be happy once I achieve my dream. But here's the truth you have to face. If you can't find contentment now, you won't magically discover it later. If you're empty here, you'll still be empty there, only with better scenery. The mind will try to trick you into believing you're just one step away. But that's the same lie it's been telling you for years. And every time you reach that step, another one appears. It's a chase without a finish line. So what's the way out? It starts by recognizing that happiness is not a transaction. It's not something you earn through achievements, possessions, or approval. It's not a medal you get at the end of the race. It's the way you choose to run. The conditions you've been setting aren't just delaying your happiness. They're suffocating it. The truth is, life will never line up perfectly. There will always be challenges, setbacks, and unanswered questions. If you wait for the stars to align before you allow yourself to feel joy, you'll spend your entire existence waiting. Real freedom comes when you decide that your happiness is unconditional, when you stop making it dependent on what you have, where you are, how much you've achieved, when you anchor to something internal, your values, your gratitude, your ability to be present. It becomes untouchable. You might lose money. You might face rejection. You might hit moments of pain. But those things can't take away the joy that's rooted inside you. This doesn't mean you stop chasing goals or stop striving for better. It means you stop using them as the currency for your peace. You can still work for more, but you no longer need more in order to feel alive. You can still aim higher, but you're no longer standing at the bottom of the mountain telling yourself you're not enough until you reach the top. And here's the paradox. When you stop making happiness conditional, you actually free yourself to achieve more. Because you're no longer weighed down by the fear that your worth depends on the outcome. You move faster, think clearer, and take bolder steps when your happiness isn't on the line. This is the shift that changes everything. The day you stop bargaining with joy is the day you take back your power. The moment you say, I don't need the world's permission to feel alive, you step out of the trap that keeps so many people stuck. But to get there, you have to dismantle years, maybe decades of conditioning. You have to face the truth that you've been holding your own happiness hostage and only you can release it. And you have to decide right now whether you're willing to walk away from the comfort of waiting and step into the discomfort of owning it. No conditions, no excuses, no deals. There's a silence inside most people that terrifies them. It's the quiet space that surfaces when the noise stops, when the notifications go silent, when the deadlines pause, when the distractions fade. It's the moment when there's nothing left to scroll, nothing left to check, nothing left to achieve, and you're alone with yourself. And that's when it hits the emptiness, the dull, unshakable feeling that something's missing. You can't name it, but you can feel it, and it's heavy. It's not sadness, not exactly. It's not fear, not entirely. It's a hollow space where peace should be. Most people don't want to admit this void exists because admitting it means facing the truth. They don't actually know who they are without their achievements, possessions, or validation. Without the job title, the relationship status, the curated image, the long list of look what I've done, they're not sure what's left. And that uncertainty is terrifying. So they do what they've always done, fill the void with noise. They keep busy. They consume more. They chase the next distraction. They overpack their schedules. They surround themselves with constant stimulation so they never have to hear the questions echoing inside. Is this all there is? Is this really me? What if I've been building my life on someone else's blueprint? The problem is you can't outrun the void. You can only cover it up for so long. Because the truth is that emptiness isn't a flaw. It's a signal. It's your soul telling you that something essential is missing connection. Not connection to other people, connection to yourself. When you're disconnected from yourself, nothing feels like it fits. You can achieve, succeed, and collect every trophy life has to offer, but each one will feel strangely hollow. You'll tell yourself, this should make me happy, but deep down, it won't, because you've been feeding the surface while starving the core. That's why some of the most outwardly successful people feel the most inwardly lost. They've spent their entire lives building a version of themselves that looks good on the outside but feels foreign on the inside. They've become experts at winning by the world's rules, but amateurs at living by their own truth. And here's the thing, the void doesn't go away just because you ignore it. In fact, the more you run from it, the bigger it feels. It shows up in subtle ways: restlessness, irritability, a constant craving for more, without knowing what more even means. It shows up when the high from your latest win wears off in days instead of months. It shows up when you're surrounded by people but still feel alone. The reason most people never feel truly happy isn't just because they've built their joy on conditions. It's because they've built their identity on them too. Without the external markers of success, they feel like nothing. And that's why happiness is always slipping through their fingers, because they're trying to fill an internal void with external pieces. The only way to close that gap is to turn inward, to sit with the discomfort of that silence instead of drowning it in noise, to ask yourself the questions you've been avoiding. What actually matters to me? What do I believe in when no one's watching? If I lost everything I have today, who would I still be? At first, the answers might scare you. You might realize that much of your life has been built to impress, to prove, to fit in, not to fulfill. You might realize you've been chasing things you don't even want, simply because they're the things you were told to want. But here's the good news. Once you see this truth, you have power. You can start stripping away the false layers. You can stop performing and start living. You can begin to rebuild your happiness on something real, on values that are yours, not borrowed. That's when the void begins to shrink. Not because you filled it with things, but because you filled it with yourself, with your own voice, your own choices, your own presence in the moment. When you're connected to yourself, happiness stops feeling like something you have to chase. It stops being this fleeting moment you can't hold on to. Instead, it becomes the background music to your life. It's always there, even when the volume is low. But to reach that point, you have to do the hardest thing most people will never do: stop running. Stop distracting. Stop pretending the void isn't there. Face it. Sit with it and let it guide you back to who you really are. Because until you do, it won't matter how much you achieve, acquire, or accomplish. Happiness will always feel like it's just out of reach. Not because it is, but because you're too far away from yourself to feel it. There comes a point, a breaking point, where you realize the chase will never end. That no matter how fast you run or how much you collect, the finish line will keep moving. That realization can crush you, or it can set you free. Because here's the truth most people never discover: happiness is not a reaction. It is not something you stumble upon when life finally decides to be kind to you. It's not a prize for good behavior. It's not a gift for the lucky few. Happiness is a skill, a choice, a practice, something you create not once, but every single day. This is where the shift happens. The moment you stop waiting for life to deliver happiness to your doorstep and start generating it from the inside out, everything changes. You stop seeing joy as something to be earned and start seeing it as something to be owned. Most people don't realize how much power they've handed over to circumstances. They let the weather decide their mood. They let the approval or disapproval of others decide their self-worth. They let traffic, deadlines, and unexpected whether today is good or bad. It's as if they're holding a remote control to their own happiness and handing it to whoever happens to walk by. Taking back that remote is not a small act. It's a revolution. It's the moment you say, I will not give my peace to anything or anyone I cannot control. It's the moment you refuse to let life's inevitable chaos dictate the state of your mind. But this is not easy. The world thrives on keeping you reactive. It wants you hooked on the highs and lows because that keeps you consuming, comparing, chasing. Breaking free means breaking habits so deeply ingrained you don't even see them as choices anymore. You have to retrain your mind to stop asking, how is the world treating me today? And start asking, how am I choosing to respond today? And here's the beautiful paradox. When you stop depending on external triggers for happiness, the external world loses its grip on you. Things that used to send you into a spiral suddenly have less power. An insult becomes background noise. A setback becomes a challenge instead of a crisis. The approval you used to chase becomes irrelevant because you've already given yourself permission to feel worthy. This doesn't mean you ignore pain or pretend problems don't exist. It means you stop letting them own you. You can acknowledge that something hurts without handing it the keys to your day. You can deal with challenges without letting them erase every trace of joy. The shift in power is not about becoming immune to life. It's about becoming in charge of yourself within life. It's about realizing that no matter what happens, you still control the one thing that matters most, your inner state. And here's something else most people don't understand: when you start creating happiness from within, you're not settling for less. You're not saying, I'll just be content with what I have, so I stop trying. No. You're saying, I will enjoy the climb as much as the peak. You're saying my joy is not fragile. It's not on hold. It's here now, and it will be here tomorrow. Ironically, this mindset makes it easier to achieve your goals. Why? Because when your happiness is no longer on the line, you take bolder risks. You make decisions without fear of failure defining you. You stop holding back because you realize that whether you win or lose, you can still live fully. That's real freedom. the kind of freedom most people never experience because they've tied their emotional state to outcomes they can't fully control. The shift in power is about reclaiming ownership over the thing you've been giving away your whole life. It's about planting your happiness in soil that can't be washed away by the storms of circumstance. It's about choosing every single morning to say, no matter what happens today, I will not abandon myself. If you can do that, if you can make your happiness a non-negotiable, unconditional part of your life, you stop being a prisoner of chance. You stop waiting for someday and start living right now, because the truth is no one is coming to hand you happiness. No perfect moment is going to arrive. There will never be a time when everything lines up so neatly that joy just falls into your lap. Life doesn't work like that, but you can work like that. You can wake up and decide, regardless of circumstances, that happiness is already yours. That's not denial. That's not delusion. That's power. Knowing that happiness is an inside job is one thing. Living it day in the real world, that's the real test. Because the moment you decide to own your happiness, you will face resistance, not just from the outside world, but from within. Your old beliefs will rise up like ghosts, whispering, you can't feel happy yet, you haven't done enough. Your habits will pull you back toward old patterns, chasing validation and approval as if you'd never made the decision to stop. Your comparisons will creep in, making you doubt whether being enough is even possible. And this is where most people give up because they expect the choice to be easy. They think one decision will erase decades of conditioning. But breaking the chains isn't about making one bold choice. It's about making it again and again and again until it becomes who you are. The first chain you have to break is the belief that your worth is conditional. This belief is a parasite. It feeds on every moment of insecurity, every piece of criticism, every setback. It makes you think that until you hit a certain level of success, you don't deserve peace. You don't deserve to feel good about yourself. The truth, worth isn't earned. It's inherent. You were born with it, and nothing you do can add to it or take away from it. But as long as you live like your worth is something to be proven, you will keep running yourself into the ground trying to buy something that's already yours. The second chain is comparison. This one is deadly because it disguises itself as motivation. You see someone else ahead of you and think, I need to catch up. You see someone doing better and think, I'm falling behind. But comparison is a thief. It steals joy, focus, and presence. It convinces you that you are in a race you were never meant to run. The only person you need to measure against is the one you were yesterday. Anything else is noise. The third chain is perfectionism. The idea that you can't be happy until everything is just right, that you can't celebrate small wins because they're not big enough. Perfectionism is an invisible prison. It keeps you stuck waiting for a life that will never exist. Because the reality is there will always be something that's unfinished, uncertain, or imperfect. And if you can't be happy until life is flawless, you will never be happy at all. Breaking these chains is not a passive act, it's war. You will have to catch your own thoughts in the act of sabotaging you. You will have to interrupt the voice that said, not yet, and replace it with, now. You will have to defend your peace like it's the most valuable thing you own, because it is. And make no mistake, there will be moments when the chains try to tighten again, when a failure tempts you to forget your worth, when someone else's highlight reel makes you feel small, when your own unrealistic standards threaten to rob you of joy. In those moments, you have two choices: slip the chains back on, or rip them off again. Here's what happens when you keep choosing to break them. You start moving freely. You stop living in reaction to everything around you. You stop letting the world dictate your worth. And when that happens, happiness becomes sustainable because it's no longer tied to fragile, ever-changing conditions. Freedom isn't about escaping life's problems. It's about refusing to let them dictate who you are, how you feel. When you've broken enough chains, you'll notice something powerful. You no longer fear losing the things you used to cling to because you've realized your happiness doesn't live in them. That's when you become truly dangerous in the best way possible. Dangerous to the system's beliefs and patterns that thrive on keeping you small, dependent, and afraid. Dangerous to the idea that you have to wait for permission to live fully. Dangerous to the version of yourself that once settled for less than you deserved. Breaking the chains is not the end of the journey. It's the beginning. It's the moment you stop living like a hostage and start living like a creator. It's the point where you stop asking, what can life give me? And start asking, what can I bring to life? And that's when happiness stops being a fleeting visitor and starts becoming your constant companion. Because it's not chained anymore. And neither are you. This is the moment. Right here, right now, you are standing at the line between the life you've been living and the life you could be living. On one side is the familiar, the waiting, the bargaining. They'll be happy when mentality that's kept you chasing but never arriving. On the other side is freedom, the decision to stop postponing your joy, to stop making it conditional, to stop handing it over to circumstances and people who have no business controlling it. You already know what happens if you keep doing what you've been doing. You've lived it. Days blur into weeks, weeks into years, and before you know it, you're still telling yourself the same story. Once I have this, once I fix that, once I get there, then I'll be happy. But there never comes. It never has. If you don't make a change, nothing changes. And if nothing changes, your future will look exactly like your past, only with less time left to do something about it. So here's the decision in front of you. Are you going to keep waiting for life to hand you permission to feel alive? Or are you going to take it? Taking it means claiming happiness as your birthright, not as a privilege for the successful, not as a gift for the lucky, but as a state of being you choose fiercely every single day. It means saying, I don't need everything to be perfect before I can be present. I don't need everyone's approval before I can feel enough. I will not abandon my joy just because life isn't lining up the way I imagined. This is not about ignoring reality. It's about rewriting your relationship with it. Life will still test you. You will still face loss, failure, and uncertainty. But when happiness is rooted inside you, those things can't take it away. They might shake you, but they can't strip you of something you no longer outsource. Understand this, the world will not stop trying to distract you. It will keep throwing shiny illusions in your path. The next job, the next goal, the next version of yourself you supposedly need to become before you can be enough. And every time you bite, you go back to being a prisoner of someday. That's why your decision has to be absolute. No conditions, no negotiations. You either decide now or you keep delaying. And delaying is just another form of surrender. When you rise up and say, no more, you start living differently. You stop chasing validation and start creating meaning. You stop playing defense with your peace and start protecting it like it's sacred, because it is. You stop living in reaction to life and start shaping it with intention. And here's the thing. The moment you choose to own your happiness, everything else in your life begins to shift. Your relationships change because you're no longer clinging to people to make you feel whole. Your work changes because you're not operating from desperation, but from purpose. Your mindset changes because you see setbacks as detours, not dead ends. You become lighter, freer, more unshakable. And people will notice. They'll feel it. Some will be inspired by it. Others will be threatened by it. But none of that matters because you didn't make this choice for them. You made it for you. And yes, there will be moments when the old patterns try to pull you back. But now you'll see them for what they are. Chains you've already broken. And you'll remember that you've already crossed the line once, so you can cross it again every time you need to. You are not here to live half alive waiting for the world to finally cooperate. You are here to live fully even in the chaos, even in the uncertainty, even in the imperfection. You are here to stand in the storm and say, but this is my life, my joy, my choice. And nothing can take that from me unless I let it and so decide. Right now. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when the timing feels right. Decide that your happiness is non-negotiable. Decide that you will no longer live on emotional credit waiting for something in the future to pay the balance. Decide that you will rise, not someday, but today. Draw your line in the sand. Step over it. And never look back. Because this is it. This is your moment. And the only question left is, will you keep chasing the life you think will make you happy? Or will you start living the life that already can?